Hi guys, Nigel Farage has been labelled a racist, a bigot, a xenophobe, and also a fascist. Now, is the latter true? Well, according to Lord Heseltine, who appeared on Newsnight with Victoria Derbyshire, it probably is. Have a listen.
You described Reform and other parties across Europe today as among the right-wing equivalents of the fascists in the 1930s. Why?
Well, because that's what they are. The fascists were anti-Jews, and the protest today is anti-immigrant. But the same arguments, the same sort of human nature is being stirred up. Enoch Powell did the same in the 70s, and in the 60s, and it was a wholly destructive contribution to a civilized society.
Reform would say deporting illegal migrants and bringing down legal migration, which he would point to what the Brexit vote was in part about, is certainly not fascist. It's actually listening to the views of the people. That's democracy.
Yes, I know they would, wouldn't they? But you see, it's the stuff about saying that they're all rapists and robbers and criminals that is the essence of the appeal of reform. And you've got President Trump doing the same in America.
So I actually put together a list of fascist tendencies, and let's go through some of them, or go through all of them, and see if Nigel Farage ticks many of these boxes. And not just Nigel Farage, but Reform UK as well, because he represents Reform. So the first, of course, is obsessive nationalism. Is there a constant zealous promotion of the nation's supposed greatness? Now, Nigel Farage actually tends to go in the opposite direction. He talks about how Britain is broken, how only Reform UK can fix it. And so I wouldn't actually say that there's obsessive nationalism, although Reform UK like to fly the flag a lot, and they have promoted the idea of flying flags in public spaces, irrespective of whether it's lawful or not. So while Reform is certainly obsessively nationalistic, Nigel Farage less so. So I don't know if we can tick the box there. Certainly Reform, not so much Nigel Farage. Creation of a mythic past. So this romanticism of the 1950s, for example, we have seen it before. Certainly with Reform, Nigel Farage has tapped into it, saying how things were great in the past and how they have gone really downhill since then. So once again, this is more a Reform UK box to be ticked than Nigel Farage. Scapegoating and the enemy. So there's a persistent identification of an enemy to blame for the country's problems. Yes, 100% there for both Nigel Farage and Reform. And while in the past it was the EU, of course today it's immigrants. Nigel Farage constantly talking about how, well, if we left the EU, we'd be able to fix most of our problems. We'd take back control and fix our problems. The problem was, of course, EU membership. And now it's moved from the EU to immigrants. Oh, if we kick out all the immigrants, then we'll have a functioning NHS, or we'll have enough housing. So, of course, yes, 100% there. Group identity over individual rights. This, of course, is about leaving the European Convention on Human Rights. Oh, we need to strip away protections for migrants, but not for British people. We need to prioritise British rights over universal rights. And, of course, Farage and people like Farage, including Robert Jenrick, have been pushing the idea of, well, we'll have a British Bill of Rights. We don't need the European Convention to protect our rights. And I pose this question to anyone who supports reform. Would you trust Nigel Farage to protect your rights? If you said yes, then you're in serious trouble. The next is a cult of personality. Well, 100% there. Nigel Farage is treated like some sort of god figure within Reform, and it's run like a dictatorship. You know, people believe that they're members of the party, but in reality, they're subscribers to an organisation. There is no real party structure within Reform, in the sense that you couldn't get rid of Nigel Farage, you couldn't vote him out. It's not like the Labour Party or the Conservatives. So there is a cult of personality, and Farage knows this, and he uses it to his advantage. The next is militarism and glorification of struggle. I wouldn't really put this on the side of Reform, because while they have talked about bringing back a military power for Britain, they haven't emphasised it so much. Merging the party and the state. Now, this isn't something that we could apply to Reform UK today, but it could be something that they want to do in the future, where you have a one-party state and it's reform. So the other parties are eliminated, or the state is run hand in glove with the party. Now, we generally think that's what happens anyway, but no, there's a difference between the executive and the administration, and the government, between the government and the civil service. But Farage has mentioned in the past he wants to put loyal people into positions of power. And of course, the Brexiteers wanted people who believed in Brexit to be running the public services in the past. Obsession with national security and crime, 100% there. He's constantly talking about how crime is out of control, even though crime has fallen over the last number of years. Fraud is up, ironically, but when it comes to violent crime and burglaries, for example, they are actually down, I believe. But crime in general is down, but Farage has to portray an image of Britain completely out of control. So we definitely put that one on his side. Contempt for democratic institutions. Yes, of course, contempt for the European Union as an institution, contempt for the government, talking about the blob as well. Nigel Farage hasn't used these terms, but Reform UK certainly have, how the state is oppressing people, how it needs to be taken apart. Of course, they're a party of small government, a bit like the Conservatives in a way. Suppression of dissent. Are critics, journalists and political opponents demonised? Yes, of course, 100%. Recently, some journalists were banned from attending a Reform UK rally or event. So yes, definitely. And we would see more of that if Farage became Prime Minister. Disregard for the rule of law. Well, we saw recently when it came to Lucy Connolly. You know, Lucy Connolly breaking the law was put front and centre at the Reform UK conference. So when it comes to breaking the law, they'll say we're on the side of law and order, but at the same time, they will promote people who break the law. And not so much Farage, but people within Reform were celebrating the destruction of the ULEZ cameras. So that's breaking the law. Controlled mass media and propaganda. Well, I don't know if I could put that. They're really good at using the media. They're really good at propaganda. And there have been examples of them misrepresenting their opponents. For example, the Scottish Labour leader was a clip of him talking to the Pakistani community in Scotland was misrepresented. So definitely something there. Rejection of modernism and intellectualism. I would put this more on the side of Reform than Nigel Farage in particular. Obsession with a plot or conspiracy. There was some of this during the pandemic, but it sort of has, in a sense, disappeared. Now, of course, Reform UK receives money from the fossil fuel industry, and they have a lot of support from the people in the United States who are climate change deniers. So there's certainly some conspiracy there. Rampant cronyism and corruption. Well, we'll have to wait and see for that. And control over social life. Farage has been, of course, speaking at anti-abortion events, and there have been people within Reform, of course, pushing this idea that we need to return to traditional values. So while Farage, I don't think, ticks all of these boxes, he certainly is, in a sense, a fascist, and Reform UK are certainly fascist in a sense. But as I said at the beginning, some of these things we'll have to wait and see when they get into power, but then at that stage it may be too late. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.